Hi there, welcome to That Board Game Show. My name is James Wood.
And I'm Sonja Wood. I'm James's mother.
And today we're going to tell you about two real-time cooperative games, namely Flatline and Kitchen Rush.
I love both of these games. You know what I like to always do is I like to tell the origin or how it came to be. So I want to quickly tell people who are listening, thank you for listening. I want to tell you about how we came about having Flatline. And that was, we were at a convention in Johannesburg.
Yeah, the convention was Icon, and I think it was in 2017 or 2016.
Anyway, I saw this amazing looking game. I must say, it really looked like it was showing off a bit on the table. Beautiful looking game. So, of course, it intrigued me because it was so beautiful looking.
With big, chunky custom dice.
Big, chunky dice. Well, that's right there enough for me. I just love games that have dice in them. Lots of throwing of dice. I love it. Anyway, besides the beautiful dice, lots of lovely colours and all kinds of nice iconography on the dice, it really caught my attention. And the card stock that they used was this heavy, glossy card. Oh, it was just lovely. Lovely art, lovely everything. So I wanted to play. So we sat down to play. And then I discovered that it's a cooperative game. So, I mean, really, it's ticking the boxes for me now. Because dice, yes, please. Cooperative, definitely. Cooperative is number one for me.
Definitely our preferred genre.
You and I, when we like playing cooperative games more than anything. It used to be me. It was me that preferred the cooperative games and you were game for anything. But I think as time's gone on, you've come to enjoy the cooperative games the most as well.
I'm still game for, I think, most types of games. But yeah, I would say cooperative is my preferred way to play.
So we sat down at the table at the convention. We played Flatline. And then came the blow. They didn't have any for us to take home, remember? Oh, I was so sad. I was like, what? We want to take one of these games home. Anyway, finally, eventually, the people that actually sell Flatline were able to dig one out for us. And we ended up going home with the copy that they had on the table. I think that's what happened. And I might be getting my details not right here. But anyway, Jamie, why don't you tell them like the general theme of Flatline? I'm getting all excited about the dice and the art and the cooperative aspect of it. But tell them a little bit about the theme and what the game's about.
So it's actually a follow-on from a previous game called FUSE, which is a smaller, more compact, very quick dice game.
Isn't that also a real-time game like Flatline?
Yeah,
Fuse?
so FUSE is actually more frantic than Flatline.
Phew.
In fact, to see just how frantic, you can go ahead and watch the video on our That Board Game Show YouTube channel, where I did a solo playthrough showing you how the game plays there.
That's FUSE we're talking about
That's
now.
FUSE.
Well, I love that video because it's got all those nice sound effects on it. I know,
because there's a companion app that has like soundtracks and noises and all kinds of things. So that's a really exciting, atmospheric game to play.
And basically, Flatline's like, an explosion of that.
Yeah, it's a
game.
follow-on. So it's the same designer, and he's taken the core idea of FUSE, which is rolling dice in real time and assigning them to specific cards. And so you've got these different shapes on in FUSE, you've got numbers on the dice. And you have to assign the numbers and the colored dice to the right places.
Because you're detonating bombs.
You're diffusing bombs.
Diffusing bombs.
Yeah. So in FUSE, you've got...
But hang on. We're talking about FUSE now. But let them go watch the video about FUSE. Let's talk about Flatline.
So Flatline has taken that core idea of rolling dice and assigning them to cards and expanded it to a broader, larger game. So in Flatline, you are playing as medics aboard a spaceship. And in fact, the spaceship you're on is the very spaceship that you were defusing the bombs on in FUSE.
Oh, right.
But what's happened is several of those bombs that you were defusing have now gone off. You didn't get all of them, and now the ship is crumbling around you.
And the best part for me is that as that is happening, these patients are coming into it's like a med clinic thing.
Yeah,
a space clinic.
The central board is the med bay of the ship.
Yeah.
And the patients are coming in on these big chunky cardboard tiles, and you're slotting those into the various parts of the med bay.
It's almost like pods, if you think of it like that. Yeah.
It's like a little medical gurney pod, essentially. And so now that tile has got the different icons that you need to assign dice to in order to treat that patient.
did you do a video for Flatline yet?
Yeah, there is a video for Flatline on the channel as well.
Oh, okay, so they can watch that. But at the moment, what I wanted to tell everybody was how much fun I have with this game, because I tell you why. I mean, just think about it. It's cooperative. It's dice. It's space. Space is like I think our number one theme of games. Oh, maybe it's hard to say. How do we say what's our number one favorite? Because we have so many favorites. But Flatline also is real time. So the patient comes in and you've got these like lines on these cards showing, well, it'll all show up on the video.
Yeah.
But basically you're trying
so you've
to
got a
treat the
general
patient.
idea if you haven't seen that video.
Yeah.
These tiles are coming in and they've got these strips on them with the different icons that you have to assign dice to. Each player has a set of dice in their player color. So everyone rolls their dice together, and then you have to simultaneously all assign your dice to the various patients to try and treat them as quickly as you can. In addition to that, you've got cards coming up on the side of the board, which have basically events and problems that are arising on the ship. You've got communications issues, and you've got a problem down in the cargo hold, and you've got some problem in the engine room. So now you've got these other extraneous issues that you're having to deal with in addition to treating the patients. And if you don't attend to those, they can pile up and they can cause all kinds of delays and they can make you lose dice. So basically how it works is you're going to discuss how you're going to plan.
That's nice. And the discussion part isn't happening in real time.
So
the
not
real
the
time
whole
is
game.
only a minute when you're assigning your dice. You
so
roll
there's a
your dice.
1 minute timer.
Yes.
So not the whole game is real time. So you discuss, you plan, then you set a timer for 1 minute. Once you click go on the timer, everybody rolls their dice and has to assign them within that minute. Then the minute comes up, and then you resolve the dice that you've assigned.
And it is very exciting. That's all I can say. First, the other thing I love.
And frantic.
Very frantic. In fact, it's so frantic that sometimes you just end up going into freeze mode, like, oh, what am I going to do now? Where? And the timer's going down and you've only got 30 seconds, or no, that's a bit much. You've got 3 seconds and you've got 2 dice still in your hand and you've got to put them somewhere quickly because you don't want to waste them. It's just very exciting. But what I also enjoy about it is the fact that the theme of it, that you're having to heal these patients, you, the medics, are having to go in and help these patients, and they've come into the med bay injured or ill or something, and now we as the medics...
Well, considering the ship is exploding, I'm guessing they're coming in with physical injuries predominantly.
Probably. And we together are assigning dice to help cure or fix or heal or whatever them. And then as soon as we've achieved that, when all those dice are assigned correctly, then the next patient comes in. It like clears the pod and the next one comes in. And you can play it on those different difficulty levels. But sometimes you're going to play Flatline with 6 patients coming. Another time it can be 8. But you've still only got a minute and you've still only got a certain amount of rounds before the whole ship just disintegrates. You've got to get your patients
so there's a
cured.
Power meter, basically, which is the game timer. On the board, there's these energy cubes, and each round you remove 1 energy cube. So basically the ship is gradually losing more and more and more power because it's been damaged to a point where it's not salvageable now. So we're saving as many patients as we can before we all get into escape pods and leave. And so depending on the number of players you're playing with, you're going to have a set number of patients that you have to cure in order to win.
And some people keep a very level head and manage to play this game in a very more calculated fashion, and one of those happens to be James, who I'm sitting here with, my own son. But me, on the other hand, I can go into freeze mode, and I've even been told when I'm playing this game I can make all kinds of strange sounds.
Your brain short circuits along with all the bombs that are going off on the ship.
And I have to lie down after we've played Flatline. I become the patient. No, really, it is a very exciting game. We absolutely love it. But now that's Flatline. Why don't we also tell them about another real-time cooperative game, and that was Kitchen Rush. Totally different theme.
Completely different.
Now, we are,
and totally different gameplay.
Oh, so completely different. I mean, it's more relaxed in a lot of ways. You're collecting vegetables and items to make food, and I don't know.
The theme is perhaps more relaxed.
Very
the
relaxed.
Actual gameplay is equally, if not more so, frenetic.
Okay, but you know what the difference for me between Kitchen Rush and Flatline is? The one, you're on a spaceship with patients coming into pods that you're trying to heal. And that is very exciting. Kitchen Rush, you've got patrons coming through the door and you're seating them and you're making meals for them and you're satisfying them. But the cooperative real-time element is exactly the same as Flatline. It's the theme that is so different that makes me have a very relaxed experience of playing Kitchen
In
Rush.
fact, sometimes a bit too relaxed to the point that you don't do anything with your sand timers.
We were playing Kitchen Rush last week. And yeah, Jamie mentioned sand timers. So much fun. You know those sand timers, you flip them around and the sand runs down. And when your sand is finished running down, you've got to move your timer to the next slot, the next place on the board, go to the kitchen.
So it's basically like a worker placement game. So each player has got these sand timers. They've got 2 sand timers each. And your sand timers are your workers. They represent where you are in the kitchen. And so there's these little spaces on the board and you've got to move to the pantry and you've got to go get the ingredients you need for the order you've taken. You've got to go out to the patrons in the front room by the tables. You've got to put your sand timer there. You've got to take a patron card and now that's got the order that they want.
Yeah.
So now once your sand has run out of your timer, only then can you pick up that sand timer and move it to a different place to go get the ingredients and then go get the plate you need and then go to the stove to start cooking it. And you've sometimes got to cook these things multiple times.
When you go to the kitchen, to the stove, somebody else could be there. And there's only space for, depending on how many
Depends
people
on the
are
number
playing,
of players.
But there's only space, certain places that you can put your sand timer because somebody else might be there. But these sand timers are quite tall. They're not little things. So what happened in our last game that we played, I was so busy chatting to the patrons coming in to the door because somebody's got to greet the patrons and let them in. When I say I'm chatting to them, I actually get a little bit too engaged in the theme and I'm busy giving them names and asking them how their day was and so on.
You basically turn Kitchen Rush into a role-playing game.
Something like that. And then I suddenly realized, whoops, okay, hang on, I'm running out of time here and I've got to cook the food that the patrons have ordered. And I go rushing off. And in my haste to get to the stove to cook, I just knock somebody else out the way. I get to the kitchen. No, I need to be there. Move on. Come on, hurry up. I need to be here. And that's the sort of thing that happens when we were playing Kitchen Rush. We were in hysterics. I was laughing so much that I couldn't even sit up straight. I got a very severe case of the giggles. So that's Kitchen Rush. Kitchen Rush definitely makes me laugh more, whereas
Flatline is more intense.
It's very intense, and I get very concerned if we're not going to save the patient. As you can tell, I get a little too involved in the theme. And so we make a good balance, actually, Jamie, because Jamie checks on the rules. He makes sure, no, you can't do that. You can't just knock somebody out away from the stove. You've got to wait your turn. So he keeps things nicely in order and nice and calm, if you can even be calm in such a kind of game.
Well, you can see me being calm in my Flatline video.
Oh, right. Oh, you can't. No, I can't remember that. I'm going to go watch that Flatline. I can't remember the details of that, but FUSE I do. I remember all those nice sound effects. So we wanted to tell you about our most recent fun at the table, and that was Flatline and Kitchen Rush.
And just one more thing on Kitchen Rush, which is, I think, very clever, is the way they've designed the rule book is that it's set out in like this sort of mini campaign that you play.
Oh, yes. That's
where
right.
you get spoon-fed, pardon the pun, the rules one game at a time. So you play through these different scenarios. I think it's 8 scenarios in total. And the first scenario is really very simple. You've only got a handful of spaces you can work. You've only got one sand timer. You're only serving your friends.
They come to your launch night.
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
And so they've got this really nice story, very well put together, well thought out. And then it leads in from that first really quite simple game. Then the next game adds a couple more elements, and then a couple more, and then a couple more. And it gradually builds to, at the end of scenario number 8, you're playing now the full game with all the areas. So I thought that was quite a smart way that
it's very good.
Managed to ease you into the game rather than front-loading all the information and all the rules that you have to then digest and then play it in real time.
And I like that you use the word campaign because I think that's what makes Kitchen Rush quite special. You feel like you're on a sort of campaign kind of journey.
It's telling the story of building your restaurant.
Well, actually, we've been on a bit of a campaign ourselves because we're building something. And we want to invite our friends to come and test out our accommodation, because we've got this great idea. And it's going to be a bit of a process, a journey. And my goodness, it's been a journey thus far. Talk about real time of games. Here we are in real life, preparing a cottage. We live here in South Africa in the Cooperative, which is in the Natal Midlands. It is so, so beautiful that we thought, let us prepare a place for people to come for the weekend and play games. Just think about the fun of that. We can spend the whole weekend playing games. If you're listening to this podcast and you love board games, well, I would think that the idea of playing board games all weekend is something that would be appealing to you. Well, I hope it is. I know it is for us. So what we're doing in real time, in real life.
Real life, real time.
Yeah, real life, real time. We're on a campaign at the moment, a mission, to get our cottage ready so that people that are join the Patreon page, they can know all about that in the show notes and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'll put a link down in, because this cottage will be specifically for our patrons.
Because we appreciate them supporting us being able to carry on doing that board game show, videos and podcasts and all the rest. And so we want to be able to give back to them and say to them, come for the weekend. Thank you, patrons. Come and have a weekend in the country and play board games. So you'll put all that stuff in the show notes, all the links and everything else. And what I'll do is I will support in getting all the hospitality and everything nice and cozy, comfortable beds and blankets and all the important things that people need at the weekend, as well as the games.
Which is my department. Yeah, so we've been, over the years in the hobby, gathering quite a collection of board games. And we figured, we've got this fairly substantial library now, so let's share it with people. And so we're slowly putting it together and, organizing it. And we've got some games that are going to be permanently at this cottage, ready for people to come and play. And other games we'll have as a more portable travel library. And we just want to be able to share the joy and the fun we've had with those games with others.
Such as Flatline and Kitchen Rush. Are they in the library?
Yes.
Oh, goody. Okay, so there's going to be lots and lots and lots and lots of games that, as we say, we've collected over the years. So all that's left now is for people to come and we play games for the weekend. So let's hope, those of you who are listening, I hope that you're going to be as excited as we are to come and play games with us here at the cottage in the Cooperative.
And the way for you to do so is to join our Patreon page. And once you've become a patron, we'll send out an invite to join our private Discord server, where all the conversation, organizing and planning will take place, as well as there being a link there to a spreadsheet that has all of the games in the library listed.
Well, that's nice. So people can see if there's a game there that they specifically want to play.
Yeah. And they can put in their requests if they see that specific game. For when they're coming to the cottage, they can say, hey, I see you've got Flatline. I'd really like to play it. So we can make absolutely certain that we have that game at the cottage for that weekend.
Person for that weekend. And the other thing about it is that patrons don't have to commit to be a patron every month for the rest of time. I mean, they can actually be
flexible.
Yeah, they can be a patron for a couple of months or something. They're basically just contributing, and that actually opens the door for them to be able to have access to the library and the Discord and come to the cottage. And then if they can't afford to or would rather not continue doing that, they don't have to. They can, what do you call it, unsubscribe. Yeah. So it's incredibly affordable for weekends, accommodation and playing games. I mean, I'd jump at that. So anyway, that is what we're doing. That's our campaign at the moment. It's a proper real-time one, real-life one. And all that's left now is to meet you and hope that you come to the cottage to come play games with us. I just want to say thank you for listening to this podcast, because we love to share with you all about games. That's why it's called That Board Game Show, because we would like to share and show and hope that we can spread, like Jamie said just now, just spread the love and spread the joy and spread the hobby.
And with that, I will say thank you ever so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the show.